I'm going to give everyone a fair warning here on this one. I'll post a little a ticker here. So, spoiler warning. Mando season 3. Ben, you've seen it, right? Okay. I would assume everyone in the chat has seen it, right? I'm going to give everyone a spoiler warning. I'm going to, count down from 5 here, basically. Just count it in your own heads because I'm going to share something and this is going to be a spoiler warning. And like I said, if you have not seen Mando season 3, I don't want to ruin this for you, but we need to talk about this, okay? Because the question that I have, Mando season 3, is the figure line and the show redeemed? Kiko's already shaking his head no, because we got one more episode and we had an episode that dropped on Wednesday, which a lot of people seem pretty happy with. I actually, to give my brief thoughts on it, I thought it was solid. It was good. I didn't love it, but I thought it was really good. I thought it was like an 8.5. I've seen some people who hated it. I've seen some people who absolutely loved it, said it's one of the best Star Wars episodes they've ever seen. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Like I said, I've given everyone fair warning here. So I'm going to share something. Okay. So this was a pretty interesting shot that I think people are going to wonder because I think it was just last week where Kiko was not here, right? Kiko was not here. And we talked about what figures are you actually going to make from Mando season 3? And now I think we have more clarity on that situation. I think when you look at what happened in this last episode, and of course, what you're going to see in the very last episode, that you have some figure potential there. That said, is the show redeemed and is the figure line redeemed? Because last week, Kiko, we talked about, while you weren't here, we talked about whether the Mando line was actually going to suffer because this season was so controversial. Kiko, what do you think after watching episode 7 of season 3 of Mando? Is the figure line going to be redeemed and is the show redeemed? How are you feeling going into episode 8, the finale?
If you remember 3-4 weeks ago, you asked a question on this show, Will, and you said, does Mando have the possibility to become a stronger line than the original trilogy? Remember that? That was a theme. And I said, hell no.
You did.
Because of how you finish a story. And after me being out last week, that was probably one of the and I don't want to just belabor the point if you guys have already talked about it, but that was probably one of the worst received and viewed show or episodes in the entire Star Wars canon ever, because there's so much writing on that season. You get 8 episodes. Everyone's like, well, they do that stuff in the Clone Wars and bad. Yeah, because you get 16, 20 episodes per season. You can dick around in episodes when you have, a chase episode that's a filler because you got 16, 17, 20 episodes. You get 8. That's it. And when you are still kind of playing catch up, waiting for direction, all that stuff, that's why it was so upsetting for a lot of people, including myself. And I know it's at the end of the day, it's just a show, but who cares? It's important to us. And so when you are literally 75% of the way through a season, you have no direction and you just wasted an episode playing around with cameos and Scooby-Dooing things that made 0 sense, people are going to be upset. And if you would have asked me last week, is Star Wars Mandalorian done? I would have said 100% it's done. It's done. No coming back from that. Was this episode a redeeming episode? Yes. But it still had me questioning, where has this been the whole time? And are we just going to throw everything at the wall these next 2 episodes and hope something sticks for the gotcha in the feels moment? Because that's kind of what happened in season 1 and season 2. And it looked like they're doing the same thing for season 3. We have gotten to the point to where I am not sure what the main goal is, but there's all kinds of talk about who's going to die, who's going to show up, all those type of things. And I was talking with Riley before we got on here about how much potential Game of Thrones had, and it did not stick the landing. And I worry about that for The Mandalorian not sticking the landing. If you think about it, you should not have to have shows that make your movies or shows better. They need to be able to stand alone on themselves. And I think as consumers, we've really got to be critical of the things that don't make sense sometimes, simply for the fact that, oh, don't worry, it'll explain it in this show, or it's going to get more fleshed out in this movie. Once this comes out, it'll make this that much better. No, these things need to stand alone and just be good in general. Yeah, you're going to have some, stinkers through there. You look at the MCU, there were some stinkers in the Infinity Saga, sure, but 80% or so were really, really good. And I can hit 80%. But this season has maybe had 20% of thumbs up and maybe 30% good, and the rest has just been a travesty. I'm just going to be honest. Can this last episode save it? Maybe. We'll see. But I don't want it just to be like a punt, like as South Park always mentions. I don't want it just to be a Member Berries episode, like, oh, look at all these guys, to distract us from the fact that it's been directionless. I think they need to address that. I like where they're going. I like the opportunity that there's the Shadow Council and Gideon and Thrawn. I like that. Let's go with it. Because if not, people are going to rebel against this and be mad because people did not receive episode 6 very well at all. And it shows me that, like, Star Wars, Lucasfilm doesn't listen, really. Because they doubled down and started putting all the character posters up of Lizzo and Jack Black. And they turned the comments off because they knew exactly what people were going to say. And it's not the issue that those people are in it. It's because, hey, we're trying to tell a story here. Use your marketing for something else. That was what people were upset about. I know I've been very negative this entire show, Will. About
It's because you had a week off. That's why.
Yeah. So is the show redeemed? No. Is the figure line redeemed? I mean, I'll get some Beskar Shadow Troopers. Sure. I'm going to get a new, Moff DeLorean, I think. But someone asked this. Right now, it is the mid DeLorean because it is very, very average. And for a show that had so much potential, a year ago, I'm stuck wondering what's next. And I'm not exactly excited.
Right. Hey, I can't blame you, Kiko. And we're talking, if we're thinking about the figure line, like I mentioned, you're thinking about what figures can they make from this season that you're really going to go crazy for. Season 1 and season 2 had plenty of things that you could be like, yeah, I'll get that, and I'll get that too, because they were so good. And like Ben referenced talking about Empire and why he loves that Vader is because Empire is the best film. When you have a really, really good film, people want to collect characters and relics from that film. And this season has been very up and down. It's been like, okay, this is really good. Oh, and we're back. And then we're back up again. And then we're here. Because like you said, Kiko, I feel like it's been very directionless and they just saved everything to the last 2 episodes. And this episode is great, but I can't also forget the last couple that have really not been that great. Like it's been very, like what is half of it? It's like, what's going on with Jack Black and Lizzo and whatever. It's just kind of like, I don't know. But Ben, I want to get your thoughts on this. So far in this season, we have 1 episode left, right? We have 1 episode left. I've not seen a single character that I'm like, okay, I would get that figure. Maybe, again, spoiler warning, because it's been flashing for a while now, maybe the Praetorians, maybe get one of those. But honestly, if I'm being real, they were cooler in The Last Jedi as far as their designs. Like their designs, if you look at them now, I was looking at them, I'm like, oh man, I wish they had just kept the original design. Because I have 2 Praetorian guards and I would love to get another one, but I don't like the new design quite as much. It has like a split in the middle. Maybe it's like, it looks kind of Mandalorian-ish, right? That's what it looks like. But the original ones had like a fully covered face and it just looked really, really cool. And I loved, so I don't know. That's maybe the only thing I would consider. I like their sort of Vibra blade, purple stuff, whatever. But Ben, what do you think about this? Is the show and is the line redeemed? Because I did ask Kiko that very question he referenced. Is the Mandalorian going to end up being bigger than the original trilogy? Because the first 2 seasons, it started to look like it was going to be at least in competition. But with season 3, I don't know. What do you think, Ben?
Jeez, it's such a good question. So I agree with a lot of what Kiko said on this round, to be honest. And I think for me, Mandalorian, the first season still is my favorite. The second season, there were episodes that I felt like were some filler and had started to slip a little bit, but it still kept our attention. I think part of the challenge of the way that they release these seasons is that there's so much time in between as well. So I think it was like nearly like on the calendar, technically just under 3 years between season 2 and season 3. That's a long time for people to wait for this show to come back, for them to feel then like they haven't really like had a direction, like Kiko said, and like who's going to be the big bad of the season, and like why do we care about some of this stuff. And a lot of me watching this season has been me thinking I almost wish this was a video game, because I actually think I'd probably enjoy it more. That more like transactional nature of like, he has a quest, he goes and does the quest, he comes back and you get another quest and you go and do that quest, and like that formula I think would be more fun as like a season 3 video game than it has been to watch. And with this most recent episode, did it redeem some of my feelings for the season? Like, Slightly, for sure. But I think one of the challenges that they're up against is they did the sequel trilogy already, right? We already kind of know what happens in the Star Wars universe. Thrawn was not mentioned at all. Same with Moff Gideon. Like, if these guys are going to be such big threats to the Star Wars universe and canon, what happens to them? I guess we'll get to find out, but it's a little bit anticlimactic because I'm not really worried about them actually being all that definitive of characters within the universe because they're gone by the time we get Rey and some of those
Yeah,
others,
that's a
and
great point.
they
That
go
is a
back
great
to
point.
Palpatine. I mean, like, Palpatine's the big bad, right? Somehow Palpatine has returned. They gave us that story, so now they're up against trying to recreate like content that feels just like a little bit hollow. And so
That's a great point, because what you had mentioned is that there's no stakes. I mean, yeah, that's another reason I didn't really care for the Kenobi show, because are we really invested in the Kenobi Anakin duel again? Do we think any of them are not walking out of that alive? Because, like I said, there's no stakes. And so that's a great point, man.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's been, I think, my biggest challenge just overall with this series. I'm more excited for Ahsoka because there is a lot of story there that hasn't been developed. There's a lot of characters that people love from Clone Wars that they're really excited to see on the the like the real life screen now and stuff. So there's some elements to that I think are exciting. Has it redeemed the figure line from this episode? Sure, totally. I agree with, I think you called him the Moff DeLorean.
And you got Iron Gideon, yeah.
Yeah,
So
like I thought
yeah.
that was a cool design for the figure. He looked pretty jacked, honestly, in the outfit. I'm sure it's a different body
It's padding,
double
bro.
underneath,
It's padding.
or it's padding. As a figure, like I like dark side style figures. Like I love my Darth Maul. I'm stoked to have Vader's in my collection. I think this dark side Maul would be, or sorry, Gideon would be a cool addition. So he'd probably be a figure I'd pick up. When we saw IG-12 carrying Grogu around, I mean, Grogu sells. He's still a huge cash win. He's kind of the new Mickey Mouse for Disney still at the moment. So they're going to, I'm almost guaranteed, make an IG-12 that carries a Grogu. So that's just another Grogu we're gonna have in our collections. With so many Grogus. But even that, seeing the IG-12, like they kind of built it up, but then they didn't use them. Like Gideon didn't even say, "Hey, that's Grogu." Like that was such an important story beat in the first two seasons. And then he's standing right there in the IG-12, and it just didn't even matter. And so it feels like there's a lot of kind of what you said earlier, Kiko, like member berries. Like they're hinting at Thrawn, they're hinting at all these other things, but it doesn't have any substance. Like, where's it even going to go? Why does it matter to us now? So it will be harder for it to be a sale when it comes to figures, because I think people will see these figures and they'll be like, it's cool, but I didn't love the season, so I'm going to wait till it goes to bargain bin and maybe spend my money elsewhere. And if the Ahsoka show comes out and it's a banger, or like any of these other shows that have been announced recently, people's memories fade pretty quickly. And if this stuff doesn't stick with you now, in 3 years from now, when Mando season 4 comes out, people might just not even care anymore, and they'll have already moved on to other figure lines. So
See, that's the problem, Ben. That's the problem, because the Mando line 1 and 2 were hot. The Hot Toys could not produce enough from those lines. They were like, yeah, it's in the show. Let's make it. That's why I was always shocked they didn't make a Frog Lady, to be honest. I thought they were going to make that, because I thought it would have been, people would have been like, okay, cool. I love Mando. I'll buy a Frog Lady. But now after season 3, it's like, oh man, I don't know how I feel about Mando. Right. And what do you really do as far as Din goes for season 3? Like yeah. What do you do
actually,
really?
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I forgot to say that was something that I was completely wrong on. I thought by like episode 2 he'd have like a blue armor plate.
Yeah, I thought so too, or gold or something.
Yeah, and that we'd already have a pre-order for a new Mando out there. And so far, not at all. Yeah, I mean, it might come, but I thought like when he relinquishes the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, like I thought he was going to be kind of like the new face of Mandalore, which then would mean he might get that gold or black armor like right. From the comics, but he's given it away. So unless that, there's too much to come back in one episode that I'm like, how can they make it so emotionally cathartic for us collectors that we're like, oh my god, okay, yeah, sold. We have to buy it all.
Right. And that with Mando season 3, I don't know that you have that. I mean, you have some cool looking figures and stuff, but I don't know that you have that emotional heartbeat connection. I don't know that that's there, like it was with the first two. So, but hey, we got one more episode. Supposedly there's going to be some wild shit going on, and I'm excited to see it. I don't think
their marketing department.
Yeah, right.
Why wouldn't they say you got to tune in? I love like on my Twitter feed, it's like the galaxy will never be the same. Make sure to stream the finale this Wednesday. I'm like,
is that what they said?
Yeah, of course. That's the marketing scheme going right now. The galaxy will never be the same. Just like Ben had said, somehow Palpatine returns. Seems pretty damn the same to me.
That's a good point.
You know, if they make a Jack Black though, I might still buy that. Because I think Jack Black is awesome.
He is awesome.
He's
don't put that
within
evil
himself.
I want a School of Rock Jack Black.
Honestly, though, as much as I say, you know, when I see the Praetorian Hot Toys, maybe I'll take a look at it, depending upon price. Because I have the 2 Last Jedi ones. I think they're and they've become grails. They've become 2 times value.
It's
even
funny
before
that a lot
episode.
of them are on eBay right now. Those
dude, yeah, no doubt. People are trying to capitalize.
Very interesting to me.
Yeah,
100%.
Yep. People are trying to capitalize. But we did get a super chat. I have to scroll back up to find it from, I think it was from Blue Beetle. So Blue Beetle, Mr. Carlos. I got to find it though, because they were arguing in the chat about Marvel and Star Wars, and the comment got totally lost. $5 from Blue Beetle. Thank you so much, Carlos. Season 3 is straight ass, according to Carlos. Pointless. Just as pointless as IG-12, those dumb new guards, and Darth Mando. Marvel is back on top, baby. Kiko loves it because Carlos is just being controversial. So... yeah, I know we don't straight agree with Carlos on this one. Carlos, I agree that it's been mostly directionless, though. I do agree with that. I wouldn't say pointless because there has been some cool things. There was that Kiko, I was at your house when we watched it actually. The fight, the fight with the Starfighter, right? They were flying around. That was a really, really cool scene. I actually really liked episode 1. Then they like abandoned a lot of the plot lines, and they were just like, well, here you go. We're gonna chase a bird.
Fighter, aren't we?
Right. So yeah, this season has been not what we wanted it to be so far. But hey, the last episode was great. It's just, you're absolutely right, Kiko. Where was this before? Like, this feels like a lot of filler content where you didn't have room to have filler content. Like, it's not a, like you said, Kiko, it's not a 20 episode season where you could throw in a filler episode. You got 8 episodes. Like, and you're doing stuff like chasing this bird for a whole episode who captured a kid, and all this other stuff that just means almost nothing to the plot. Like, what did that really lead us towards anything? I guess it get like Paz maybe trusted them. Yeah,
sure. And we've talked about this a little bit too long, and I apologize about that. But
it's all good.
We talk about the idea of iconic characters and iconic moments.
Right.
Moff Gideon was introduced at the end of season 1. How has he only shown up in 3 episodes since? Right. I mean, imagine showing Darth Vader or something and him just dipping out till like the end of Return of the Jedi, that he just happens to show back up. Imagine him missing completely from a movie. It would make no sense.
Well, he shows up at the end of every season. Like, it's the same thing over and over. Like, at the end of every season, it's like Moff Gideon somehow returned. Like, that's, you know, it's yeah, it's just it's what keeps happening every season.
If you guys just keep saying "Long live the Empire."
If you guys are getting fatigued with Star Wars, feel free to convert over to Star Trek, because Picard season 3 has been absolute fire. I don't know who said it in the chat, but that shit has made me cry every episode. It has been so damn good.
Mando has made us cry for the wrong reasons.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It's absolutely the wrong reasons.
Move to Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. Star Trek could be the thing, though. Could be the thing. But guys, we got some more topics to talk about. So let's talk about this, and this will probably be a quick one because no one really cares except for me.